What is up, my fellow bro gamers? Mr. J313 back at it with some more Mass Effect Andromeda, and today's video is my Warfighter Batarian Scrapper Build Guide for Platinum. So my Platinum Build Guide, this is my first Platinum Build Guide. It will be a little bit different. I'll be going over a little bit more in depth with it, so let's jump right into it. I have the Batarian Scrapper 3 level 20, sitting at 836 health with a 459 shield. So he is very tanky. He's up there with Krogan status. He's pretty much right under a maxed health and shield Krogan. He has more shields than them. Actually, I don't think a Krogan can get that high shields. I'm not sure about that. But as far as health goes, he's right there with the Krogan. So let's go over weapons. Weapons, if you don't have any of the new weapons, it is okay. You can substitute them for the regular versions. Now, for primary, you're going to want to run an assault rifle of some sort. Me personally, I'm using a Siphon Maddock with a Bulwark Cyclone. Now, really, as far as these weapons go, it's really just going to depend on what you're comfortable using. Really, any good assault rifle, the Avenger X, Revenant, the Valkyrie, well, those are probably going to be the biggest ones, as well as the X5 Ghost, the Cyclone, and maybe the Maddock if you're a fan of it, or the Halberd, one of those two. But if you have any of the new weapon types, I would highly recommend using them because it is Platinum. So that's really where your primary is going to come in. I personally would recommend a Siphon for your primary. For secondary, you could use Concussive if you're wanting that, but I like using the Bulwark because the extra damage resistance is very nice, even adding on more tanky effect to him. Plus, with his skills in combat fitness, getting even more damage resistance. Now, shotguns, you definitely can use a shotgun as a secondary, and I do highly recommend it. The Dihan, if you have that, I've had a lot of great times using it. The Ruzad, the Disciple, the Piranha, and the Crusader, while they would be my top picks, being ultra rare, as well as the Dawn. You know, I don't know if you're going to be able to get those as easily. The Rieger Carbine would be another good one. So those all would be another good option for a secondary. Now, if you have one of those, you know, really just pick and use what you have. If you're using the three new weapon types, Siphon, Concussive, or Bulwark, equipment, you definitely need to be using the Warfighter package for the extra 10% weapon damage and 20% combat power damage. Now, you can use the, I believe it's called Enhanced Munitions. That is the combat power multiplier. Yes, Enhanced Munitions for 30% extra combat power damage. You definitely can use that for more concussive shot and flat cannon damage. It is definitely a very viable option. I would highly recommend using one of those two for equipment. So, on consumables, it's pretty straightforward. I would definitely recommend extra combat power damage, the combat power amps, as well as the next one. Now, instead of using combat power amps, you can do shields if you want more shields, or I don't really recommend using a strength enhancer because you're not going to be meleeing too much. This isn't really a melee build. I will be doing a melee build, but it will be my gold build guide. But for the second consumable, definitely use Disruptor ammo. I find Disruptor ammo best on Platinum because of all the shielded enemies. So definitely be running Disruptor ammo as a secondary consumable. So now let's jump into skills. Now, this is where it gets really heavy for skills. You need to focus on getting him up to rank X to be able to get the most out of him, but concussive shot's the easiest. You're going to go first three, then top and bottom. On top, you have to go with 4 for recharge speed. If you go bottom, I'm not even a big fan of the swapping it out to power cells. I'm not even a big fan of that in general, but now you can't because of flat cannon. Flat cannon is, for me, his most used skill. I do use snap freeze a lot and concussive shot because he can detonate his own combos. So you can't get power cells on concussive shot. Now, so far with the powers I have, I only put the first 3 in snap freeze. While if you're going to spec more into it, I would probably go top on 4 for extra damage. Going back to concussive shot real quick, I wouldn't say speccing into 6 is really all that worth it with having to spread his skills out so much. You don't really need to max anything out other than flat cannon. Now, the other thing you're going to max out is combat fitness, so his skills are really well needed. Getting him to rank X is going to be the biggest deal for actually getting the most out of this build, which I haven't done yet because of all this new ridiculous content, and I haven't been able to get him much, and it's really frustrating. Anyways, moving on to flat cannon, that is your next primary ability. You'll be doing first 3, top, bottom, and bottom. So for top, you want the extra damage. Those extra power cells, while they're very nice to have, I feel like having the extra damage is much more valuable. Bottom, easy. You need stunning. Stunning is actually one of the most underrated abilities in this game and is quickly becoming one of my favorites because of its stun effect. It stuns everything except Hydras, Destroyers, Fiends, and Ascendant. I'm not sure if it stuns them or not. I don't think it does. I haven't noticed a stun effect. Now, with 6, you want Shredder because that is going to be 800 damage over 8 seconds. That is a lot of extra damage stacking onto what it already has. Now, I'm not sure the extra damage it gives for top with flak, the extra 50% flak shrapnel. So I want to say I think it's like an extra 200 damage, but it's instant damage instead of over time. I'm not sure. I'd have to go and do the math. Now, with munitions training, first 3, then bottom, you want the extra power damage and power cell and melee damage over weapon damage. Now, I really don't see a big purpose in getting any further in munitions training, but now moving on to combat fitness, this is where it gets really to the point where you need all of the skill points you can. So you need to go first 3, then top. 5 and 6 will be top and top again. So with 4, you know, that melee damage is nice and all, but I personally went with top because of the extra health and shields making him so tanky. And then with 5, you want to go with top because that is an extra 50%, not 50%, an extra 50 damage resistance while in cover with the regen delay. As well, on rank 6, you get 200 damage resistance when you're at 30% health or lower. That is an insane amount of damage resistance. On top of his already very tanky stats for health and shields, I believe having that, I haven't been able to test it a whole lot because I don't have the skill points to test it for platinum, having to have everything else at a very viable level to use. This is definitely the route I'm going to take with it. So if you have him at rank X, follow everything on this guide, then go to combat fitness, go top, top, top. On snap freeze, I would go top for 4. Quickly doing the math, I'm not sure if you'd be able to put anything else in anything, so I think that's pretty much going to be the end with maybe like a few skills left over. So let's jump into some gameplay and really show off this build. So what I've noticed most about using the Batarian Scrapper on Platinum is he packs some mean damage, as well as being able to detonate his own combos. If you get off that snap freeze, you can use concussive shot, or you can just drop that melee with the Batarian Gauntlet. He can detonate all of his own combos, making him even more effective, on top of being able to spam Flat Cannon, stunning enemies and dealing lots of damage. Flat Cannon honestly does do quite a bit of damage, plus the damage over time and the stun effect. It is very good, especially for Platinum. It makes walking on gold even that much easier. And there you have it right there, detonating your own combos. All of the combos should be detonated all the time. You can do them yourself, or you can get other combos from other teammates if they prime something. That is another big reason you need to be running disruptor rounds, is because then you could just shoot something a little bit, fire your concussive shot, and then detonate. So combos are going to be a big deal for him. That is another reason why you need to be running the normal concussive shot instead of the power cells, because with having Flat Cannon, you are going to run into a big problem if you're running power cells with concussive shot. That is just too much. You're just gonna have to rely on getting ammo boxes too much at that point. That's really just way too much. So I would very much avoid that. Plus, having the recharge speed, he has some pretty decent recharge speed. It's not anything to gripe about. I believe it's 8 seconds for concussive shot, and that's not bad at all. Being able to get a combo detonation every 8 seconds, that is really good, and it packs a mean punch whenever you do it. So going over some more about the Batarian Scrapper with his tankiness, he's pretty high up there. Now, while Platinum, everything pretty much does pack a very mean punch, he can really stay in the fight for a long time, and that's why I'm saying with the extra damage resistance you can get in his combat fitness, I believe it would just be even more solid. I'm really wanting to get him higher up in rank so that I can test those out. And then once you get him into veteran status, having the extra melee damage, power damage, and combo damage, I believe he would just be a very solid Platinum operator. Now, while he is solid in the first place, if you just have him at rank 1, he could very easily do it. If you are rank 1, level 20, he could still run Platinum very well if your team communication is just right, because I see him as a high damage tank, pretty much. That's where I see him. Now, in this gameplay right here, you're seeing me use a Siphon Falcon. That is another good weapon you can use because of explosive damage. It does have a small radius, so you will be able to get a little bit of damage in an area. So that is another good reason why, if you have the Falcon, you can use it. But I have just been slowly falling in love with the Madoc all over again, especially since I have all of the versions now. I really feel like Siphon is probably my favorite out of the 3 new ones, simply because being able to get all of that health back per shot, it is very nice. So near the end of the waves, when you're having to deal with destroyers or hydras or fiends, ascendant, you can really just start wailing on them and quickly get all of your health back. Now, while I do wish I had the Cyclone Siphon, because I believe that would be just utter chaos, if he had Turbocharge paired with a Cyclone Siphon, that would be just absolutely ridiculous. Which, he doesn't have Turbocharge, but if he did have a Siphon Cyclone, I think that would just be absolutely crazy. So, let's move on to some of his other abilities. Now, I know I'm going over this again, but with his abilities using Snap Freeze, when I'm running gold with the Batarian Scrapper, I notice a lot of times I'm able to get up a lot closer to enemies and just play around, Snap Freeze, and melee. In Platinum, it's going to be a little bit different. It does have a 10-meter radius, so you can fire it. It's decently far. It's not going to be anything crazy, maybe from cover to cover in a small room. So you can use it, but I definitely would not recommend snap freezing something and then jumping on it and meleeing it if there are other enemies in the room. If it is just you and one enemy, I could definitely recommend it, because it will get that combo, especially if your concussive shot is on recharge. But if at all you have the chance, you get something frozen with snap freeze, I would say just go ahead and shoot concussive shot and detonate it. I wouldn't want to chance getting up that close. So, going back, with maneuverability and mobility with the Batarian Scrapper, it's pretty decent. I would have figured, since you can get him so tanky, he wouldn't be as agile as he is. While he's not up there with the best, obviously he's not going to be. It's not bad. It's nothing that I can complain about. So he's able to move around pretty easily, so I've found. So getting in and out of situations, I haven't had that big of a problem with, especially if you have someone on the team with Stealth Grid. Having that teammate run around using Stealth Grid a lot is really helpful, but it's not necessary to get you in and out of situations. Unless it's a situation where you're trapped between multiple bosses or heavy-hitting enemies, that can get pretty disturbing at that point. But if you are in a situation like that, if you're getting swamped by berserkers or nullifiers or anointed, you can always nuke yourself with the flat cannon. Obviously, it's not going to hurt you, so whenever you shoot it at the ground, everything in its radius will be stunned, and you can get out of that. Or you can just keep dropping it, and you could potentially just kill everything around you. That's what I like to do with addies and wraiths, anything like that, or smaller enemies. That is one really good use for flat cannon because of shrapnel, and then its stun effect makes it even more deadly. But whenever it comes to berserkers, you can't really do that. It will stun them, and it will do lots of damage, but you're not going to be able to kill them easily because they have so much armor, and flat cannon does not do as much damage to armor. So it is a problem, and while I would say you could go with the extra armor damage for flat cannon, I don't recommend it because then you won't be able to get stunning. So that is a big problem. I really feel like stunning is one of the best perks to having flat cannon. That stun is very nice, getting in and out of situations or just holding off some bigger, hard-hitting enemies. Now with objectives, he can definitely do objectives pretty easily. He is very slow whenever he is carrying the retrieval, and I do know that every operator is, but he just seems to be extra slow because he's so big and tanky. I don't know, I just feel like he's slower than some of the other operators in the game whenever he is carrying the retrieval. But with his health and shields, he can do it, I don't want to say too easily, but it doesn't seem like it's going to be a challenge doing it all the time. So he can definitely be a runner with the objective. But when it comes to hack and upload, I still don't know with Platinum. because I feel like the best option for Platinum when you get hacker upload is have someone with cloak to be on the objective and doing it while everyone else kind of pulls aggro. He can definitely hold down any position on the map because he is such a very defendable operator. He can lock down an area and really keep everything at bay, especially this area right here on Sandstorm, this rooftop. If you have upload or hack on this map, you can definitely camp up there, pull all of the enemy aggro to you, and then keep that position locked down quite easily. Or if you're on the objective, you could do it. But once you get overrun at a point, you kind of have to back off of it. And at that point, that's where I kind of feel like an infiltrator of some sort would be a better option. So, moving on to what he really works best with, the teams that I've found work best with him are other people who can prime. So, Engineers, the Engarn Exemplar are two really good options for him. Or Biotics. Singularity is a good power that he can combo off of, or Annihilation if he's running around with Samasari with Annihilation. Another good option for him is running with an Infiltrator. While Infiltrators are typically more squishy, he has the ability to draw aggro and keep them safe while being able to dish out lots of damage with the Infiltrator getting him in and out of situations quite easily. When it comes to being aggressive or defensive with him, I haven't really decided what's best because he can do either one of them very well. So, I mean, I don't know. It just kind of depends. But in some situations when you are defending, there's just some situations that you won't be able to help. You're going to get downed. Obviously, this gameplay isn't really showing me getting downed much. It does happen. But in this situation right here, I'm going to be showing it. It does happen. Sometimes you can't help it. The observer gets to flank. But then whenever the room gets swarmed, you kind of have to take a look at what you're going to be fighting. So there's 3 saboteurs in here. I saw 2 Addy and Observer. That's what I saw. So at this point, I'm like, all right, got to get my teammate up and then snap freeze. Let's do that first. Get the revive. And at this point, I'm kind of like, okay, I don't have any flat cannons. What can I do? Go ahead, get that combo, get him out of the way, get in cover. I see that saboteur. I know there's 2 observers. You kind of really have to assess every situation and know what you can do. I really can't get a good combo on these observers right now. I can't come up. If I had flat cannons, I wouldn't want to come up out of cover because of all the firepower that's coming down on me. While if I had the chance, I definitely could say that doing it would help because stunning would take care of that. So you really just have to be aware of everything that is going on around you, because that is what you're going to be doing a lot of, is defending, because I don't see being an aggressive player on Platinum to be that effective. You really have to be very defensive and move and coordinate with your team to be the most effective with Platinum, being able to grind it out and do those missions quick. That is where you're going to see the most effectiveness with using the Batarian Scrapper on Platinum. And I'm really hoping this guide has helped you guys out to really understand him. I've seen quite a few people actually playing as him more recently, and it's awesome seeing that new operator in the game, especially with the new Apex mission that did just come out. We're trying to find the other Batarian pirate, so I'm really kind of speculating what's going to go on with that other Batarian, if they're going to be in the game or not as an operator we can play as. Hopefully we can. We'll just have to wait and find out. Guys, I really hope you enjoyed this build guide. If you did, please be sure to smash that like button. It'll really help us out. If you're not subscribed, now is a great time to do it. We're putting videos out every Monday and Friday, as well as a few others just like this past week when there's tons of content to push out. So guys, as always, this has been Mr. J313, and I will catch you on the next one.